So when we talk about regret, regret is one of the most worthless and useless emotions there is. The only thing regret changes is you, but it changes you in a negative way. It pushes you into a deeper hole, because there's a belief that you could do something different. You can't. It's over. Have the funeral, bury it, and move on.
Hi, I'm Mark with Take 2 Minutes, and we're back with Jamie again, Jamie Morgan. Jamie and I talk frequently, and we try to have discussions around mental well-being and things to ideally help individuals with getting into a better spot. And we're going to continue our discussions around that. Today, we're hoping to talk a little bit about depression, anxiety, and living in the moment. Jamie, I think you know about this a lot more than I do, but there's you hear it quite often that depression is thinking too much about the past or living in the past, whereas anxiety is often worrying about the future, which, you can say that worrying about the future, everyone for self well-being or self-preservation needs to worry about the future some, but I think the anxiety comes when you do it too much or focus on it too much. And both those, we should then, talk about living in the present moment. So that's going to be kind of the topics of today. So with that said, I think this is something, again, you know a lot about. Why don't you open it up?
I mean, I don't know that I know a lot about it, Mark. I might know about it some. It's interesting that we even said it that way, because here's the deal. This is so real. Didn't Mark Twain say something about there's no one more sure of themselves than a fool? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Right. And here's my life experience. Plato says to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom, right? So as you start knowing yourself, you start really understanding what you know and what you don't know. And what I've experienced in my life is the more things that I learn, so the more that I know, the more I realize how much I don't know.
Right.
And I'm not saying that there isn't facts and there's not truth, right? But the whole nature of science is not like the whole idea of the term settled science. That's when you and I went to school. What was the smallest particle that they ever found?
I don't think I even know that one. An atom?
Yeah, you do. Didn't you tell me about your buddy who does some quantum research that talks about these nanoparticles now that they've understood that you can actually break an atom down into smaller parts and smaller parts?
Right, but we were in school, wasn't it an atom? Is that what we thought? Yeah,
that's right. Protons and neutrons and atoms.
Yes.
Settled science. That's what it is.
That's changed.
Science isn't settled ever.
Yeah.
The nature of science is exploratory. Right? It's like, well, we think we know. So when you say, you know a lot about this. Sure, I have a lot of experience around depression and anxiety. However, there's a lot that I don't know. And I'm really clear about that too, because depression doesn't look the same for everybody, Mark.
That's correct. And I want to preface when I say you know a lot about this, you have a lot of experience that others don't have in this area. So you probably have information that the average person wouldn't.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I'm kind of like Yogi. I'm smarter than the average bear.
There you go. There you go.
So depression, it's a focus on the past. No doubt, right? There's the I should have, I could have, I would have, all the things, right? You can should all over yourself is what I like to say, right?
Right.
Anxiety. Well, that's a fear, worry, apprehension about the future, right? So you want to really live a super healthy life. Learn how to be present in the moment.
And then I think with that, so being present in the moment is the key. Looking at the past, I know we all think about the past. It's our experience. It's our life. I think the difference is you need to not dwell on it or think negatively about what you did wrong, but look at those possible negative experiences and learn from them and realize how you are better now because of those.
Yeah. So what I like to talk to my clients about is there's this idea that every experience is either a life lesson or a life sentence.
Okay.
But it's your perspective that makes it so.
Correct. Yes.
So a life sentence would be, I did that thing that was horrible, and I'm a horrible person, and I can never be forgiven for that. Right? A life lesson is, I did this thing and it wasn't awesome, and I don't like how it went, and yeah, I hurt people, and that sucks, man. But I've learned that I don't ever want to be that way or do that again. Right? I talk about that in my book, Master of Circumstance. I talk about regret, because that's really depression and regret, shame, guilt. Boy, that shame, guilt, regret cycle. Oh, that's messy, man, and that gets us going around, circling the bowl, if you will, pretty fast, right? So when we talk about regret is one of the most worthless and useless emotions there is. The only thing regret changes is you, but it changes you in a negative way. It pushes you into a deeper hole, because there's a belief that you could do something different. You can't. It's over.
You can't change it.
Have the funeral, bury it, and move on. Right? So we have to use history, because that's really what the past is. The past is history. I have this picture I really fancy. Well, listen, I sound a lot English, don't I?
Really
I fancy this picture. It says this. I'm gonna share my screen for just a second, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You cannot suffer the past or the future because they do not exist. What you are suffering is your memory and your imagination.
That makes sense. The brain's very powerful, and the brain can make you, as you said, regret things. And I think the differentiator, so there's many things. I'm not going to go through dirty laundry here. Many things in the past I did that I maybe wished I wouldn't have done. Yeah. Regret's an interesting term, because I think I don't necessarily regret them. I've recognized that they were wrong, and I possibly did something different. And I've learned from that, and learned that I want to be a better person because of that. And that's, people have a hard time. I think there's difficult, and I know people in my life who just dwell on what happened in the past, and they need to somehow, I don't know what the magic way is, but shift their focus to learning from that.
So the magic thing is, I have that.
Okay.
I have that. The magic thing is to separate you from your deed. Right? Just because you did a bad thing doesn't make you a bad person.
Correct. You can change too.
Right. So when you separate that out, I did a bad thing. Oh, I'm a bad person. No, you did a bad thing. When you recognize I'm a human being that has potential to change, and that thing is just the thing that I did, that's the key. Right? Because then you separate yourself. So now here's what's really interesting. And I write about this in my book as well. I talk about this. I love talking about this part here. People can never change without your permission.
Expand on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think about that?
Without whose permission? Without their own permission, or who's
without yours? You can't. Okay, let's say you wronged me, Mark. Okay. And you wronged me 20 years ago. I don't know, right? And since those 20 years ago, you've transformed yourself, and you're not that guy anymore, and you would never be that guy, and you're completely, I would never say 180 degrees different, because you won't be. I'll say 178. Okay. Right? So you're 178 degrees different, right? And then we interact. How am I going to relate to you? Who you are now or who you were?
You'll probably reflect on the past. You will.
That's right. Right. Because I'm going to relate to you as like, oh, that's the guy that hurt me.
Right.
Oh, no, he's something different. No, he's not. That guy. No, that guy is horrible. He's whatever he is. Right. So in my eyes, you'll never be anything different. unless I say so.
But I think I have the power to make you say so by who I am now also. Is that not the case?
Absolutely. No way. Then that would take away my free will.
Okay.
Right? And that's the reality of it, man. You know, I don't want to, boy, how can I make this point? I really went through a transformation in 2000. So pre-2000, I was not a great guy. I will acknowledge that 100%. Who I am today and who I was pre-2000, I would say is 178 degrees different. Like it's very different, right? There are people that knew me pre-2000 that won't give me the time of day today.
Okay.
There's nothing I can do about that. I can't change that. Right. So like, even when you think about being a stoic, right? So a stoic in philosophy, stoics really just focus on integrity and just doing the right thing at all times. Right. Well, a stoic is not influenced by those around them.
Okay.
You do me wrong, I don't return that in kind. You do me wrong, I'm still going to do the right thing.
Right.
That's the stoic position, right? I can't change you though. Right? So I can't change you at all. I can't change how you view me. I can't do that. Now I can influence it, but at the end of the day,
correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can influence, but I can't make you.
Right.
I can't make you do anything.
Makes sense.
Right? So, and that's a tough situation because, you know, a lot of people that do go through change, transform their lives. Like you see this a lot in AA and NA, right? Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. You see this a lot. These people who get their lives together. So maybe they're not drinking anymore and they're not drugging anymore. And they want to live a good life. And they're starting to, you know, man, I see what I did and I shouldn't have done that. And I'm really getting my life together here. Dude, you almost have to like change towns and like reinvent yourself, right? Because people are always going to relate to you.
Let's switch the perspective though, because in my perspective, everything you said, I completely get and I believe is accurate. However, if you did wrong people, let's say you wronged 10 people and you're a new person, you've changed the 178 degrees, you know you're a better person now, and you try to re-engage with those 10 people or you reintroduce yourselves to them, whatever. And 8 are willing. I mean, you know, and 2 of them are like, wow, you have changed. You're a great person now.
That's right.
I think from a perspective of building yourself and not dwelling on the past and having depression, you need to be satisfied with who you are and recognize that those 8 may not be as important to you now. And you need to continue down your good path and influence who you can influence in your new way, but not still dwell on the ones you can't influence because of their free will.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't give them any, like, I think it's important, you know, a step in AA or NA, you know, I think it's step 4 is making amends, right? I do think it's important to acknowledge it. Hey, man, you know, Mark, listen, man, in 2000, I did this thing to you, and you got to be specific, right? So I did this thing to you, and that was a mess, and I know that impacted you in a negative way, and I'm really sorry, man. Will you forgive me? That's all I'm going to do. I'm out now. I'm done. So the ball is completely in your court. You can say, nope, I'm not forgiving you, bro. Okay, cool. Got it.
Right.
Or you're going to say, yeah, man, I forgive you. It's cool. You want to go grab lunch? Sure, let's do that. Right. And then we can decide how the relationship's going to go moving forward. So I think we're agreeing.
Yeah,
we agree. I think we're saying the same thing. Right. Yep. It's, you don't spend time in that, but I will tell you now, I want you to really think about this though, because this all ties together now. So I do this transformation. I'm going to use your example. And I got these 10 people I wronged, and 2 people are willing to accept the new Jamie, and these other 8 are not. A lot of people become hyper focused on those 8.
Right. And this is where we have to transform to living in the present and not focus on the past still, though. And that's a tough
That's right.
transition for some people.
Not some people. It's a lot of people, man.
Sure.
That's a tough transition. I don't care who you are, right? Over the last few months, I've had it's been rough, man. It's just been a rough go, and I'll tell you, I operate my life with integrity, and I operate my life with the intention of always doing the right thing and treating people kindly and all the things, right?
Right.
And, there's been some miscommunications and some misunderstandings. It's hard not to take that personal.
Especially if you're trying. Correct.
Yeah. Right. Right. So, even someone as enlightened, which I'm not, as me, dude, I struggle with this and I have all the tools.
Right.
So I can't imagine what it's like for someone who doesn't even have the tools. Right. So that's why this conversation is so important. It's like, look, you got to be able to say, that's their problem. That's a them problem. That's not a me problem. And then you just got to, I can't control you. And I heard that this guy told me this back in, I don't know, 07 or 08. He says, Jamie, there's going to be people that are in the world that are just not going to like you.
Right.
For no reason at all.
Totally. Yes.
And that, because there's a lot of people, Mark, that want everybody to like them. And when someone doesn't like them, they latch on, well, why not? Why don't you like me? I want you to like me. What have I got to do different? Well, when you start focusing on that one who doesn't like you, you really kind of start hurting the ones that are in your corner already.
Right.
Right? So you have to be aware of that.
I had an enlightening moment. This was when I was younger, probably in my early 30s, but I was probably that person who wanted everybody to like me in my 30s. And at one point in time, I can't remember the exact circumstance, but someone who is a friend of mine, I was doing something obsessively to try to get someone probably to like me. He said, not everything is about you. And I was like, and that probably, it kind of put me in my place. I was like, that's a good perspective. And I appreciate that. I thought in my head, and that kind of helped me realize that he's right. Not everything's about me in this world. And to what you just said, not everyone's going to like me. And since that time, I think I've realized that. And that's not everyone's going to like anybody, right? Not right. Everyone's going to like, there's no one thing everyone's going to like, no matter what it is. I use an analogy from my wife sometimes. There are certain people, if you gave them $1 million, they'd be mad you didn't give them $2 million. It just
yes.
It doesn't. It just makes them who they are. You're not going to please everyone ever.
Yeah. So even when you're looking to make, to find a mate, this whole idea of a soulmate, I don't buy that for a second, right? Because there's not one person that you're going to 100% jive with on everything. You got to make a relationship work, and what I mean by that is by making it work. What you're doing is you're compromising and you're coming together on how we're going to do things, right? But there's always going to be those things, right? So you got to be aware of that, and just be aware that people are people, and they have a right to their opinion, and they can like or not like you for no reason, and that's on them. So like the idea that when people mistreat you, that's really a them problem, not a you problem.
Right.
Now, where your responsibility comes in is when boundaries. If someone continually mistreats you, you should probably set a boundary and not be in a relationship with that person, right?
Right.
But a random person in the parking lot cuts you off and flips you off or whatever they do, right? Was that about you or is that about them?
That's about them. And I try to take that perspective and just move on. And so, but you're right. Some people don't. Some people then find it combative and want to.
Yeah. Right. Because why? Because they take it personally. I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you mad at me?
Right.
Bro, they're just mad. Don't get sucked into that energy.
Right. And this is a perspective thing again, because you don't know what's going on in their life. You know what's going on in your life, but they could have just lost somebody.
That's
a billion things could be wrong with them to cause that to happen. And you don't know. So to take it personally is not doing yourself justice. So you're not helping yourself by taking it personally. You got to move on.
I'll never forget, me and my wife were at Edwardsville, at the theater in Edwardsville. Okay. And we pulled him to a spot, and I guess this guy thought he was going to pull into the spot. I don't know. So we get out, we're walking in, and he's, just barking at me, right? So I stopped. I said, dude, what are you going to do? I mean, we're old men. You want to fight? Is that what you want to do? Well, I'm like, what do you need? Do you think I did that to you on purpose? Was that? And as I just talked to him, I didn't engage with him like, come on, bro, let's go. It wasn't that, right? I'm like, what are you getting at? What do you need? As I engaged with him, he realized how silly he was being. And he started laughing. He said, dude, I'm sorry, man. I've just had a rough day and I'm just taking it on you. So I ain't mad at you, man. It's okay. We all have rough days.
Right.
Wow. That could have been somebody completely different, and that could have whipped that dude. Right? And that could have been bad for that. That could have made his bad day a lot worse. But by just talking to him again, not taking it personal, right? And just engaging with him as a human being. Look, man, John Maxwell talks about this all the time. He says, hurting people hurt people. Right? So a lot of times when people lash out, they're just hurting, dude. They're just bleeding on you. They're wounded and they're bleeding on you. And if we can figure out how to not take that personally, we can really make a difference for them. Again, they may not change, they may not do whatever, right? But yeah, so when you focus on what coulda, shoulda happened, that will lead to depression. When you focus on, what's going to happen tomorrow? That's anxiety. I like this exercise for anxiety. If you're concerned about something, how it's going to go, what's going to happen, what you're anxious about, whatever, write down everything that you're anxious about.
Okay.
And then mark off everything that's outside of your control.
What you can control. That's what it's about. Yes. Understand what you can control in that situation.
And what you're going to find is you're going to have a very short list of things that are in your control.
Right.
Then control your controllables.
Right.
That's it. Just control your controllables.
That's
life.
Yeah, one that you can see real time happening all over the place is weather, right? When bad storms are coming, I know so many people get really worried. We shouldn't go. We got to, be cautious with the storm. And I've had the perspective, well, you can't control it. Yeah, we shouldn't probably go outside in a field with an umbrella above our head. But at the same time, that's things you can control, right? But you can't control if it's going to hail and damage your house. Sitting and stressing about it and getting all worked up, it's not going to accomplish anything. What's going to happen is going to happen. You can't control those. It's unfortunate, but doesn't mean you can control it and need to worry about it too much. And that's just one I see a lot is weather. People get really stressed out. And it's terrible. If you lose a house, tornado, that's not a good circumstance. It's terrible, but you still can't control it. I know we've had damage this house multiple times, but from tornado, high winds, hail, it's unfortunate, but you cannot control it. So stressing over it or having anxiety over it isn't healthy for you.
Everything is replaceable except for your life.
Right. Yes.
So I just need to be concerned about my life. Can it be fixed? Yep. Okay. Now look, again, I think another thing that leads to depression and anxiety is you talk about perspective, but I think it's expectations of how things should or shouldn't go, right? And we really get caught up in that, right? Like we get caught up in this idea that if it doesn't go this way, it's bad, and that's going to be the end of the world for me. Life is full of inconveniences.
Right.
It's this. So I've heard this said in church, and I kind of like this idea. Life is phases. Entering the storm, being in the storm, or just getting out of a storm. So you think about like sailing, right? Or just being on a ship on the ocean. You're going to hit some smooth waters. You better enjoy that. You're also going to hit some rough waters. You can see it coming. You're like, oh boy. batten down the hatches. Here we go. And then you're in the storm and you're getting after it, holding on for dear life. And then you come out of the storm. Whew. Okay. What damage do we have? What do we got to fix? Let's keep it moving.
Right.
That's life. Right? You wreck your car. Was that inconvenient? Yeah, that stinks, man. Are you hurt? Nope. Okay, cool. Fix your car. Move on. Yeah, but that guy shouldn't have done that and pulled out in front of you. And whatever. He did. Like, look, no one wakes up saying, you know what I want to do today? I want to destroy my life. That's what I want to do. So let me see if I can get in a bad car wreck and maybe injure somebody else there. That's what I'm going to go do. No one does that. That's why they call them accidents. So what if we started treating them like accidents? Like, hey, man, I know it's not a big deal. Are you okay? I'm okay. Hey, we're going to be okay. You'll get your car replaced. I'll get my car replaced. Everything will be fine. But that's perspective.
Right. It is perspective. So I know that grounding exercises help with anxiety. Do they help with depression also? Does that help you get into the moment, or does depression have different exercises which are better for depression?
Well, grounding exercises are great. There's no doubt about that, because what does that do? What does grounding do?
Brings you to the moment, brings you into the present around you.
Yeah. So if I'm out here in anxiety, or if I'm over here in depression, and I start doing a grounding exercise, what's going to happen? It's going to bring me back here. Right? And when you really think about a grounding exercise, okay, if I'm like feeling like, oh, nothing's going good, I'm poor, pitiful me, all the things, right? And I start getting present, it's like, man, my life's pretty good. I'm in a comfortable home right now. My dog loves me. My spouse is kind to me. Like you can really start getting present to that. You're like, man, yeah, it might stink right now, but I got things to be grateful for. Right.
Yeah, so on two things there: gratitude, and then also
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely right. Because gratitude is really powerful for depression. But I think the other thing is self-care.
Right.
Right. Depression and anxiety. You got to have a self-care routine.
Yes.
You have to, man. You got to get outside. Vitamin D on your skin, right? The sun on your skin. Don't wear sunglasses if you can.
Right.
Your brain, your eyeballs need that sun. Now, here's what you want to do. If you can, go outside in the morning, barefoot, with as little clothes as possible. Right when the sun is coming up, look directly at the sun. And just take it
kind
in.
of a sun salutation is what that would be, correct? Yeah, you want to absorb,
necessarily
feel it radiating off your body. Yeah,
and it's right when it's coming up, right? So it's like it's like right when it's coming up, the UV and UVA and UVB rays aren't there yet. So you're going to get a full sun. Once it's up, then obviously don't look at it, do all the things, right?
Right.
But if you can get that first sunlight as much as you can in your skin, barefoot on the ground, not on concrete, on the ground, you discharge that electro energy that's inside of you, number one, and you start taking in that vitamin D, dude, game changer. Game changer.
This is really an easy exercise. So if you have depression and you feel, because people who have depression don't always want to get out of bed. They just want to lay there in the darkness, right? It's just right. Some people do. Yeah. So just getting up and getting outside and addressing the sun can help with that. And that's
right.
Effort. You still have to get out of bed. You got to get out of your dark room. You got to go outside. But that vitamin D, feeling the sun, recognizing the sunrise, maybe even thinking of some gratitude during that time about how you're grateful to watch the sunrise, how pretty the colors are, how the clouds,
right.
Those are gratitude statements you can make in your mind during that time. And then you can also have the grounding exercise, which grounding exercises are basically finding, 5 things around you can see. What is it? 4 things you hear?
Yeah. And it's not necessarily in that order.
Okay.
Mark, it could be whatever. It's just a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
see, hear, feel, smell, right? Like you just want to get present because that's what you're engaging all your senses into what's going on around you.
Right.
Right. And maybe one is stronger than the other, but what you see, 5 things is what you see, because there's typically a lot of things you can see. Okay, what do you feel? Okay, I feel the cold air. I feel the leather on my skin. Right. So what do you hear? I hear birds. I hear this. What do you taste right now? What do you smell right now? Right. So you want to just engage all your senses, because when you engage all your senses, it takes that focus here versus out there.
Right.
Right. So that's super helpful, man.
The other exercise I know I did for quite some time, and I need to get back into it though, but it's meditating. And meditating is that same thing. A good meditation helps you come into the moment and focus on your breathing, focus on what you feel. I mean, sitting in a cross-legged seat with your sit bone on the ground, grounding yourself, you have feelings. You can feel your sit bone on the ground. You can feel possibly your calves against the concrete or chair you're sitting on, and you focus on those things, and you purposefully have deep inhales and feel the wind and air going through your nasal cavity, and exhale, and you're focusing on all those things. And that's what meditation is really, is focusing on what you feel and what you're doing, and not thinking about the future or worrying about the future or thinking about the past. So meditation,
that's right.
Both good things for that.
Think about how you see people, and when you see them, you already know, oh, they're pretty depressed. How do you know that? Well, they're hunched over. They're just, you know what I'm saying? But then you see this guy here, very confident, chest is open. You can breathe better. Your spine is aligned. Your head is up. There's something different about that guy.
Right.
Right. That's pretty hot. I mean, that's pretty hot stuff, man. So I really, it's really, there's so much into the physiology and neuropsychology, man, that, the more we learn, how we started, how we started. Settled science. There's been this belief that there's no such thing, or there's been this belief that you just, hey, I just had this chemical imbalance. I'm always going to be depressed. That is, that's been debunked. There's been a couple people that's done it, but the University of London did a meta-analysis of all the research on psychopharmaceuticals as far as SSRIs and SSRIs, right? And where they landed is there is no statistical difference in taking one and not taking one. I think what's really happening there is the placebo effect.
Right.
Oh, I'm taking this and I should start feeling better. Oh, I feel better, man. It's great. I recognize that a lot, because even what I know now, it's not to say it doesn't change you, because it does change you. Right. But it may not have the impact that we thought it had. So there's still more research to be done on that. And again, you got to understand, well, who's funding the research to get the results they want, right? So when you really look at that, now I'm not telling you if you have depression or anxiety to just stop taking it. It's not going to work.
Right.
If it's working for you, it's working for you. And I get that, right? However, what you really got, the idea is when you start taking a psychopharmaceutical, other people should start noticing a difference at 2 weeks. You should start noticing a difference at 3 weeks.
Okay.
If not, it's the wrong one.
Okay.
Now, something very important to understand about these SSRIs and SSNRIs, they now have a DNA test to figure out which ones will work for you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Before you take one, go get that.
And a good topic.
And they do it like a stoplight. Oh, they do? Okay. So they do it like a stoplight. Green, these are good for you. Yellow, use caution. Red, stay away from those. And what happens is, a lot of times, this is really interesting, right? They're practicing medicine. They're here, take this Zoloft. Okay. That didn't do anything. All right, we'll just take more of it. Well, that didn't do anything. Zoloft may be one of those that will never have an impact on your brain chemistry. There's 24 different SSRIs.
Right.
Well, the reason is because there's 24 different chemical compound, how would you say it? Chemical structures, right? Like, and I'm sure there's a lot more, but that's kind of like the baseline, right? Well, what's going to work for you may not work for me because we have different brain chemistry, right? So you got to find the one that's going to work with your brain chemistry. Dude, that's why people get so frustrated with it. That might take 6 months or a year.
But this test could help you minimize that time. Yeah.
It does. Absolutely. It's like, take this one will do it. Oh, okay, cool. Right? So that's really good stuff, man.
And then in a future discussion, we're out of time today, but I think one of our future discussions should be around the 3 good things exercise, because Take 2 Minutes offers 3 good things. And I have found so much research around how much that helps somebody, as much as SSRIs, to get into a more positive state. So I think maybe next week we can make that a topic. One of the next 2 weeks, it'd be a good topic to talk about also.
I love it, man. I love all the research around gratitude and how it impacts your brain, because that's anchoring. That's what's that called? Oh my gosh, I just had it and I lost it. I'll remember it. That's priming. That's anchoring. That's priming, dude. There's a lot. That's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
it's really cool stuff.
Good. Well,
there's so much that we can be doing, right? There's so much that we can be doing that doesn't include the things we've been traditionally taught.
That's the good thing about mental well-being is it's more recognized now, and things are being done, and people are getting help, and it's becoming more accepted, and there's more out there to help people.
That's right. Yeah, it's so good, man. So good.
Yeah. And if anyone has any topics they like to have discussed, feel free to put them on whatever channel you're watching this on, YouTube or Instagram. We're happy to have a discussion around topics.
Yeah. Just drop it in the comments, right?
Yep, exactly. Good. Well, I appreciate your time today, Jamie.
Oh, man, it's been a blast, dude. I really enjoyed talking about this stuff. So look forward to our next conversation, Mark.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for listening. I hope you found that discussion helpful and interesting. If there are any topics you would like to hear discussed, head over to take2minutes.org and use the Contact Us form to submit your suggestions. Also, if you appreciate our content, sign up for an account at take2minutes.org. Subscriptions help us to continue generating new content. Thanks again.